Ladies and gentlemen, we now present
Freddie Starr. In a way I discovered him because I linked him to Mike Hughes and told him get out of doing club pop and do cabaret. And of course he was a master at cabaret, almost instantly.
Freddie Starr was very big in the clubs when I was working them. In fact, not a lot of people know this. I introduced Freddie on Opportunity Notes for my sins. I remember you agreeing saying, Freddie, you gotta be clean now.
A great opening, wasn't it? Ladies and gentlemen, Freddie Starr, and the curtains would open and there'd be nobody there. And he'd be on the drum kit with the band. So looking for Freddie Starr. Great, it was great.
Yeah,
comic.
that's when he was at the height of his...
Great comic,
wasn't
he?
Yeah.
Funny man.
Yeah.
I was booked to do a Sunday concert at the Futurist Theatre in Scarborough. Top of the bill was Freddie Starr. So we all turned up and we did our band call and we were getting ready, but no Freddie. Freddie hadn't shown up. So the show that was running at that theatre for the week was starring Peter Gordino. And they decided that Freddie wasn't going to show. I guess people didn't have mobile phones in those days, but there was no word from Freddie. So they knew where Peter Gordino was staying, obviously. So they contacted him and said, would he come in and top the bill?
I absolutely loved Freddie Starr. I loved his character, his person, his humour.
I was comparing the show, so I had the onerous task of going on right at the beginning and saying, ladies and gentlemen, through circumstances beyond our control, Mr. Starr won't be able to be here, but we hope you stay anyway because Peter Gordino is going to come in and top the bill for us. And I was standing in the wings waiting to go on. I can't remember the name of the stage manager. He was a big, muscular guy. And I was just about to set foot on stage and he grabbed my collar with one hand and the seat of my trousers with the other, pulled me back, pointed me to the stage door where I saw Freddie Starr coming in. There was no time to tell me, so he showed me and then pushed me on stage. And so that I didn't make the announcement.
Freddie Starr, yeah. I remember working with him with the Del Monts or something like that. Yeah, and I never forget, we were doing, I think it was the Wigan, one of the clubs in Wigan, I think, or we were doubling anyway. And we were talking, standing in a group talking, and he came round and started talking to us. And he just dropped his trousers and started scratching his backside, as if nothing happened.
He used to get up to all sorts of tricks that weren't in the script, and he'd get on a motorbike and come through the aisle on a motorbike and all the fumes and then he was doing terrible things. It was in the paper. He got up to all sorts of mischief with the dancers with their costumes. He was mucking about with them and cutting them and he was just outrageous.
On the same night, there was a young girl, had her mother with her, and her mother came up to Shirley and said, look, it's my daughter's first night in this business. Can she use your dressing room as you're the only girl in the show? And Shirley said, oh yeah, carry on. She used Shirley's dressing room, and after a few minutes, we heard screams and shouts. We went running in there, and Freddie Starr was in the room, absolutely naked. And this poor young girl, that was her introduction to show business. The first night in showbiz was Freddie Starr.
During the interval, I popped into his room to see what he wanted to say about him. And he was telling me what I needed to say about him as Stanley Unwin with all that gobbledygook. So I hadn't got a clue. I mean, it didn't matter, he was a star, I could make it up, but out of courtesy you asked them in case there was something special.
Was Shirley Bassey going to come? What was the deal?
What happened was that Shirley Bassey was going to come to the Golden Garter. This was just the biggest thing that had ever happened.
Yeah, we got some information to say we had Shirley Bassey for 2 weeks. But we also knew that she'd appeared at Batley Variety Club as well. So I decided, the general manager and I decided at the time that I should go over and see how things went with Shirley Bassey.
For weeks, we're all looking forward to Shirley Bassey. We're all going to work with Shirley Bassey.
We had to change certain things in the dressing room, and she'd have an augmented orchestra up to about 30 piece, and she'd want a Rolls Royce for the 2 weeks and a suite of rooms at the local hotel, which I think was going to be the Excelsior. So we were pretty booked out very quickly, as you would imagine.
This was at a time when you were paying 75p to get in. Now the tickets were going to cost you £2.
Yeah.
So a big
that was a
hike
lot
up.
of money, actually.
In
yeah,
those days, yeah, right. So our drummer in the band, who was quite an entrepreneur, thought, I'm going to make a killing here, and he bought up a whole load of tickets at £2.
You know where this is going, don't you? Poor man.
And of course, suddenly it's sold out for the week. Then she decides she's going to do a fortnight, so then he buys some more tickets for the second week. So now it's absolutely sold out. Bear in mind that we're talking about 8,400 seats per week. So she's selling out 16,000, 17,000 tickets, all been sold. Yeah. And a lot of them have been bought by our drummer. Yeah. He's been borrowing money left, right and centre to buy as many of these tickets as he can, because he knows he can sell them at probably 4 times the price.
My hairdresser at the time, who was a character, he asked me if I could get some tickets to Shirley Bassey for the Garter. And I did, which was not the right thing to do, really, because I was selling them to him. And I got this batch of tickets for Shirley Bassey.
And then we got this terrible news to say we understood that she'd broken or damaged a rib in the Tom Jones show, and therefore was unable to attend.
And then the news comes through, the advert goes into the Manchester Evening News. It is with regret that we announce that Miss Bassey will not be appearing due to circumstances beyond hers and our control.
And she cancelled on the first week. And I'm frantic, thinking, oh my God, she's cancelled. What were the tickets I got? I said, all the tickets I got were for the second week.
Of course, what happened didn't happen. She never came. We were very, very sad, but don't know why, but she changed her mind.
We never find out why Shirley didn't make the first week, but someone's got to fill in, so they got the big star of the year who had just done the Royal Variety Show, which was Freddie Starr.
And so we were slightly worried about this with Freddie Starr. He said, well, when you see the Royal Variety performance, you'll realise you know, what we're talking about here.
He'd just done the London Palladium, and it was a big hit on them. And they've got him in. And I always remember he had the Star dressing room, of course, he would do, Freddie Starr. And we were at the first dressing room as you walked up the stairs, and he needed a pair of socks. And he just, anybody got any black socks? Anyone?
Yeah, he had a bit of a tee.
Did we find any socks for him?
No, he just had that big on the Royal Variety Show.
Yeah.
And Mike Robbins said to him, well, there's the keys, Freddie, at the end of his rehearsal. And Freddie said, what keys are these? He said, we're buying a Rolls Royce. He said, oh, he said that. So Freddie gets in the Rolls Royce, pulls away from the Garter, goes down Princess Parkway, and there's a guy behind him in a little sports car with a deerstalker and a girl in there. And he's bibbing him and all that, and giving him hassle. So we pull up at the traffic lights. So Freddie Starr's father was a fighter, a street fighter, you know. So Freddie must have been pretty handy, but he winds the window down, he presses the electric window down, he says to the guy who's parked next, you got a problem, mate? And I said, oh, you probably stole it and all that. So Freddie gets out of the car, goes round, knocks bells the window out of him.
I said, what's that about? He said, well, unfortunately, a bloke came up at the side of me, didn't recognise me, and started swearing at me, so I got out and ate him.
Gets back in the car and drives off, but the girl had the presence of mind to catch the number plate on the roller, rang the police. He turned into Wilbraham Road and got to the bottom of there. There's a blue light flashing. Got a phone call that night about 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. Can you come and bail me out?
He said, I'm in jail. And of course he was stuck there. He said, can you get somebody to come and get me out? So of course we had to wait then. So they got whoever, a solicitor or someone, to bail him. And he eventually did get to the Bangkok.
So when he came to he came straight from Longsight Nick to the Garter, and he come in the dressing room and asked to borrow a jacket and trousers. So he went on stage in borrowed gear and absolutely stormed the place.
He was one of these incredibly naturally funny men, so it was all hilarious and the audience loved him.
And it was the most profitable week, I think, in history at the Golden Garter, because we got him for a pre-Variety Club price, and he tore the house down. It was just brilliant. So that's probably one of the most memorable. But Shirley Bassey not coming to Garter was a tragedy.
And that was the first week. So Freddie covered for Shirley. But now we're on to week 2. We think, well, we are going to meet Shirley now, surely.
She cancelled the second week. Well, I didn't have a haircut for 18 months because I was frightened of seeing the guy.
But the next week, you're going to think, well, Is she coming?
That's right. And when she wasn't going to show, now they're really faced with a problem because they've got to find someone at very short notice. We have a 20-piece orchestra that's booked to back Shirley. And they're already going to be paid. You've got to pay for the orchestra. So now we've got to find someone that is an international star who's available for that week.
Yeah.
That was real bad, and then we had some alternatives, and so the alternative was Max Bygraves.
Yeah.
Well, they got Max Bygraves, and Max did a storm, God bless him.
I love Max.
Yeah.
I thought he was another very clever man.
And he said he would do it for the same money and the same facilities.
But meanwhile, think about our drummer who's bought all these tickets for £2, sold them for £8. He's got lots of people knocking on the door wanting their money back.
You can imagine when they came back to the club as well, though, John. There he is. Because it's funny, isn't it? It's an interesting thing you talk about that, like, and I know you're making a documentary about the time of the club.
Yeah, I thought there's never been anything on TV that's about the nightclubs, which I hope to get onto YouTube.
When it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the thing, isn't it?
Well, I was so lucky that I was in the right place at the right time, and I happened to have this wonderful experience for these 3.5 years at the Golden Garter.
So tell me, how did you end up then becoming into the mega hit with the lovely Johnny Hamp? The Comedians, how did that come around?
The wonderful producer Johnny Hamp got the idea of doing the Comedians, because all the clubs, they all had comedians, you know, and the title's there, isn't it?
Ladies and gentlemen, it's The Comedians!
They're comedians, the comedian. And now, a lot of producers, they phone up, the agents will phone, do you want so-and-so? No, Johnny would go out and look for new people. Anyway, Johnny came to see me and called my agent. He said, yeah, I'll book him. I was on the very first one of the Comedians. So I didn't do many, but I did 3 or 4, and it got me going, got me set up. And I made friends then with Johnny Hamp, and then I started writing for other people. I was with the same agent as Freddie, and I worked a lot with him, because I wrote a lot for him. I wrote The Madhouse for Freddie Starr. I used to say one time, what's show business? I'll tell you what it's about. It's about a group of people that get together and talk about Freddie Starr. Because that's what it used to be, right? Everybody had stories about Freddie Starr, and they were all true. The Cambridge Theatre London, I did a show with Freddie Starr, and there were only 3 acts in the show. There were myself, Paul Ridgway, and Freddie Starr. So Freddie said, right, you go on, open the show, do 5 minutes, and then I'll come on as something and mess you about. Oh, well, are we going to rehearse? No, we don't need to rehearse. No, we don't need to rehearse, we just do it. I said, okay. So I walk on. He's there as Hitler. He's got the trousers. Right, guten Abend. Is this the way? Is this the way to Drury Lane? No, it's just round the corner. Well, and he'd start. Then I would introduce Paul Ridgway. Then I would do 20 minutes. Then with the interval, and the whole second half was Freddie, which would finish off as Elvis. Right. So the first night we stayed, and at the end of the show it came on, took a bow at the end, you know, at the end of the... He said, ladies and gentlemen, my 2 guests, Paul Ridgway and Mike Goddard. So we just came bowed, and that was it. So the second night I said, right, I'm not staying through the show every night just to walk down these steps. You know, you have to come on and take a bow at the end. I said, no. I said, you've done 45, 50 minutes. I was sitting in the dressing room just to walk down some stairs. They've forgotten who we are anyway by that time. No. You have to come on. Otherwise, it looks like it's only a small show. That's well, it is a small show. There's only 3 of us. Well, you have to do it. That's well, I'm not doing it. You have to. I said, okay, I'll do it. So he goes on. I went to the stage door. I said, give him the number. I said, I'm going to call you up here at 10:20 from the pub. So I went down the Coach and Horses in Greek Street to see Norman Bailon. And I said, Norman, I need a phone. So he said, there's one there, the phone. So I got on the phone, called the stage door, and I said, he's nearly finished. So I'll hold on until he's finished. Norman had a microphone in that thing now. Finished. So, ladies and gentlemen, Freddie Starr, yeah, and he comes. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to the cast, Paul Ridgway, and Paul comes around, and Mike Goddard. I said, Freddie, I'm in the Coach and Horses, Greek Street. Hope it all went well. Bye-bye.
The Coach and Horses, Norman Bailon was the governor, and he would tell you if he didn't care for you, he'd serve you, but you'd be told where you could push off to, be you man, woman or beast, you know, what do you want and all that. And we went there because he was very clever, Norman. The drink was cheaper, especially the spirits. The drink was cheaper than anywhere else. That's I suppose the beer was, and I suppose he thought, well, yeah, this is the way you'll get the customers in. And it was a dreadful place. We loved it in there. Broken chairs, burnt light shades, carpet threadbare, and boards all showing through and everything. I thought, what a lovely place this is, hardly West End. But we only went mainly because it was such a place that was different. I don't know whether not intentionally, it just was. And the drinks were a lot cheaper. And of course Danny LaRue, when he was at the Palace, used to frequent there and go in. And they did a very good lunch at a reasonable price. It was a lovely old girl. Norman called her mummy. I don't know whether it was his mother. A lovely old girl with the tea cloth folded and over the arm when she came to wait at tables. Anyway, this particular day, we didn't eat in there. We went solely for the bevy, you see, being box office people. And Danny LaRue came in, stood at the end of the bar, and he looked around and he said, and Norman said, hello, and he said, you booked my table for lunch. And Norman said, table? Do you see any tables? They're all full. You'll have to wait. And Danny said, have to wait? You know who I am? I'm a star. And Norman said, bollocks! I walked right down there into the counter and left him standing there. And I thought, oh, that's something. I'm a star.
Freddie Starr. So Freddie Starr took over and stormed the place from about the Wednesday to the end of the week. And that was the beginning of Freddie Starr at the Golden Garter.
As you know, Freddie, you never know what the hell he was going to do. Never.